Hi, my name is Ali Raskin, and I'm really feel very honored that you spent some time to either join us live or to watch this video. And I'm just going to quickly talk about how I got into this crazy world of essential oils. Is that I actually had a very sick baby, and I was on a quest to figure out how to heal this little boy's body. I was extremely frustrated with Western medicine because it was band-aids upon band-aids for his issues that caused other side effects, and nothing was getting to the root cause. There was no true sense of healing, and I just knew there was something better out there. So that's kind of how I got into this world to begin with. I actually started with nutrition and then got into oils, but they are obviously they work together very well, and a symphony, right? Good nutrition with oils works amazing. So first of all, what I want to start with is the not so cool, not so fun stuff. So bear with me, but we do need to know what we're putting in and on our bodies because it has a huge impact on our health. So we're not going to go into a ton of detail today, but I highly, highly, highly recommend that you start doing research on the products that you put on your skin and clean your home with, because there are so many toxins out there that we just don't realize that we are exposed to. That was at least my experience, is that my doctor knew enough to know that what I was putting on my skin as well as in my mouth and cleaning with could be going into my breast milk and making my son sick. So I started studying toxins and realizing just how toxic my home that I was buying, by the way, everything organic from Whole Foods. And I thought I was doing all the right things, but almost everything I purchased had that one word that is like the 3-letter word or whatever you want to call it, which is fragrance. So fragrance is a dumping ground for chemicals because it's protected under trademark law, that a company does not have to list what is in that word because it's protected under its trademark. So that is one of the worst words you can find because you just have no idea what is in that product. And it is certainly something chemical and often something dangerous. The most common chemical that preserves the sense of smell is formaldehyde. And we just know that formaldehyde is a bad thing. And who knew that it was lurking in this word fragrance, right? There are a lot of other toxins that you definitely should research, things like parabens, things like sodium lauryl sulfate, things like anything that says antibacterial on it. These are all things to definitely research. We're not going to spend a ton of the time on this today because I like to talk about the good stuff, the happy stuff. So basically, I'm going to shift gears to why use plants, right? We use plants because they're not toxic, and we can use them to smell fantastic without having to trademark because they're just plants. They clean well and they help us be healthy, and they can keep us beautiful as well. So we don't need all the chemicals to be beautiful or to be clean. There is a better way. So there's lots of essential oils on the market. They've been around for a long time. And I live in Dallas, Texas, and I kid you not that the gas station, the petrol station on my corner sells essential oils. So you literally can get them anywhere, right? So what is the difference in what is out there? And it's really, really important to know this because the essential oil marketing is all over the place, right? There's just, everyone wants to be in the essential oil business now. Even like Glade plugins have an essential oils version now, right? But what is the difference in what's out there? So we are going to talk about Young Living specifically because of how they do things. The vast majority, if not all the majority of everything else that's out there works like this. There are a few farmers, there's a broker who goes to these farmers and they say, we want your eucalyptus plant, right? And we go to all these farmers, we're going to get the eucalyptus plant from each of these farms on this specific day. These farmers have to grow as much as they can of their cash crops. So they spray them with insecticides and pesticides and herbicides to get the most out of that plant because they need the most plant as possible because they're paid by volume. This broker collects all this eucalyptus, for instance, and pours a chemical solvent on this eucalyptus, the same thing that runs your air conditioning unit, known as antifreeze, and it makes the plant start producing its oil. Then they cook it off and they sell it to all these companies that then dilute it down with carrier oils, and they can even get organic certification on it. Even USDA organic only has to can have up to 5% chemicals in it, non-organic chemical in it. So if you think about that, that's quite a bit. In organic standards, you can have even more than that. I think it's 15% chemicals. So yuck, I don't want to be breathing that in. I don't want to be drinking that. I don't want to be putting that on my skin when I don't know what it is, and I don't know how much is plant, and I don't know how essential oil plant, and I don't know how much is carrier oil. So going forward, we are only talking about Young Living because Young Living is very different. Young Living has its own farms as well as very special partners farms, many of which are used to keep generational family farmers in business by giving them a means to farm for a really good purpose, right? Saving these family farms. And all of the farms follow what's called the seed to seal standard, meaning that the soil is prepared for actually at least 8 years instead of 4, which is the standard for USDA organic. But typically, Young Living will only use soil that they know is what's considered virgin soil, has never had a pesticide or a chemical used. Every seed is analyzed. The soil is prepared because you have to know your soil to know your oil. That's where the magic comes in, right? Never a pesticide or an herbicide used, and everything is harvested in the most sustainable way and the most effective way. So for instance, in Mona, Utah, where our lavender is grown, when it's time for lavender harvest, that lavender plant is checked every single hour to make sure that that is the peak of its harvest point. No other company does this. Also, no other company can tell you when you pick up a single oil that you can look up a lot number and tell you the day, the time, and the farm where that oil came from. That is knowing your plant from seed to seal. So that's why we use Young Living very differently than we would any other oil. And we use them in a very meaningful way for our body. So there's 4 different ways you can use an essential oil. The first way is you can use them internally. So again, only talking about Young Living. So example is citrus oils taste fantastic in our water. They also help detoxify our body. So you can put a couple of drops in a glass of water and drink it, and it helps detoxify your body. It tastes great. Not all oils taste amazing, but sometimes we just need them. So a way to use them internally when you don't have to or want to taste them is to get a veggie capsule. Many countries with Young Living have veggie capsules. So you can fill a veggie capsule with essential oils, and ideally a fatty carrier oil like coconut oil or avocado oil are 2 great, those tropical oils, keep you from burping up the taste of that oil. A perfect example is oregano. Lots of reasons why we'd want to take oregano oil. I promise you, you do not want to taste it, right? Other ways to take oils internally, if you have a smaller child who can't swallow in a capsule yet and doesn't really want to taste something, you can do we call it a honey sandwich, where you have a spoon, you put a little bit of honey, a little bit of essential oil, a little bit of honey down the hatch, tastes yummy like honey. So that's internally. There are other ways as well. I love under the tongue for a not super, super hot oil, but internally. Second way is topically. So the best way to use your oils topically is if your stomach is not happy, put it on your stomach. If your knee is not happy, put it on your knee. But there are other ways to use oils topically. Is at the bottom of your feet have a lot of pores. So it's a great place to target essential oils. Also, your feet, your hands, your spine, your ears all have a reflexology / Vitaflex in oil speak points. So you can look up online Vitaflex points or reflexology points, and you can target an oil specifically there. So if I'm wanting to detox my liver, I'm going to pick the point on my liver, my point on my foot that's for my liver, and I'll apply an oil there, for instance. Within 30 seconds, that oil is in your bloodstream. And within 30 minutes, it's in every single blood cell in your body. So amazingly fast, they penetrate into our body. But there are 2 places that we never want to put essential oil. That's inside your eyeballs and inside your eardrums. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't use oils for all the things for eyes and ears. It just means around the eyes and around the ears and down the neck. Those are great ways to support both your eyes and your ears. Okay. Third way to use an essential oil is aromatically. So smelling an essential oil is a fastest way to affect your emotions and how you're feeling, right? So ways that you can use oils aromatically is you can wear a diffuser necklace if you want that smell to last you all day. You can put a drop on your hands and do what we like to call a scent tent. Just breathing slowly. So it's amazing. Breathing helps calm you down. So breathing with an essential oil is like a million times the same power, right? So we love to breathe oils in to affect our emotions. And in fact, we can affect our brain before we even realize that we're smelling the oil. That's how fast those smells affect our brain. Really, really cool. So the fourth, arguably same third way, is diffusing. I like to categorize it separately, because when you're diffusing an oil, you're not just smelling it, it's landing on your skin and going into your bloodstream, and you're breathing it in to your lungs, which works very much like ingestion. This is also a fantastic way to manipulate your home. So if you want your husband to be happy when he walks in at the end of the day, diffuse oils for that. If you want your kids to be taking an oil to stay well and they refuse to let you apply it or take it internally, put it in a diffuser. It's a great way to affect your family. So we love to use a diffuser. All right. So Young Living is really become a vast company. It started as a supplement company and added essential oils, and then out of much, much demand became really way more than that, a lifestyle company. And that is truly what it is today. So Young Living has everything from makeup to skincare to animal products to men's products to kids products to baby products. You name it, there is pretty much a product for that, other than, as my 13-year-old daughter says, hair dye and nail polish. Pretty much everything else we've got. We're still trying to figure out a non-toxic way to do those things. So where do you start, right? How do you not get overwhelmed when you're starting with Young Living? So what Young Living has done is they've classified things into lifestyle categories. So you can pick and choose from those lifestyle categories. In many countries, you can start with really whatever you want. And there's also some bundles that are put together at drastic discounts. So those bundles come in several different categories, and we're going to talk through some of those categories today, which leads me to introduce Lisa, who's going to start with our first category, which is essential oils. So Lisa, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself, I will do the hand over to you.
All right, thank you, Allie. Hello, friends. My name is Lisa Deal, and I am here to share with you two particular oils that were life-changing for our family. The first one was what really actually got me started with oils, because I had tried everything that I could get my hands on to help the situation with my child. My youngest has mosaic Down syndrome, and kiddos with Down syndrome typically have low muscle tone, which leads to constipation. Yes, we're going to talk about poop, folks, because it's very important. So we had tried, like I said, a lot of things over the counter, but the pediatrician in general wanted us to use Miralax and wanted us to use it for the rest of her life. At the time, she was 5. So you can imagine, as a mama, I was like, wait, forever? Like, it just didn't resonate with me, and it's what caused me to seek alternatives, which actually I am so incredibly grateful for that experience, because it has brought me to where I am today. So sometimes through difficulty, we find amazing blessings. And so like most people will tell you, had that friend who's like, hey, have you tried this? And you're like, no, but I will try anything, because I really just want my child to not, for one, not be in pain, and to have a more long-term solution that wasn't going to have any detrimental side effects or anything like that. So we started using DiGize, which any of you that have smelled this, I'm sure you can agree, it's not your favorite smelling oil, or I do actually have some people like, oh, I love this smell. For me, when I first smelled it, wasn't a fan, but sometimes we use the oils that don't smell good because we know they work well. And so what we did was we created a roller bottle with DiGize and peppermint, because those are both digestive support oils, right, that come in the starter kit. And we rolled her tummy multiple times a day. And so I like to tell people, like, when you're using essential oils, it's really important that you understand the frequency in which you need to apply them to get the desired result. I think in society, we're so used to, like, oh, you take this medication and then 4 hours or 6 hours later, you do it again. And when you are in distress or needing support, it's important to know that multiple application is really best. And so we really just try to get it on her tummy as often as we could. Sometimes that was 5, 6 times a day. Sometimes it was more, sometimes it was less. But ultimately we did that with the Miralax because every time I tried to take her off of it, she would get constipated again. But I didn't have something I was replacing it with, right? So when we started using oils with it, we weaned her off the Miralax, and y'all, within 3 months' time, my baby was never constipated another day in her life, and she's 14 now. So what that looks like for us today is that we're not applying it preventatively like we were before, or to try to help support her body to do what God actually intended her body to do. There was something going on that wasn't working right. So now I just go, hey, like, we talk poop. Did you poop today? She's yes, and then we're good. And if she hasn't had a bowel movement, I will apply it to her tummy to kind of make sure that we stay on this regular happiness train that we're on. And so that's a really long time that she's been free of that. And I actually speak with many mothers who have children with Down syndrome, and it is a across the board issue with those kiddos. So if you know anybody, help a girl out, help a mama out, and tell her how amazing these 2 oils can be for digestive support. Allie, do you want me to run right into frankincense? Okay, fantastic. So fast forward, I had already been using oils on my kids and my family, and my father. Now, most of us that use frankincense on the daily will tell you that it's amazing for skin support. It's something that I put on my face every single morning and night because it's that good. And so the Lord really provided a scenario for me to use frankincense in a different capacity that I just recently started sharing about. So my father, who is 73 years old, he kind of led a very abusive life, so to speak, I guess. And so in his old age, when he started having some issues, I guess let's just bump to that. You know, I don't need to hear all the backstory. So he was having some early onset dementia. And so the doctors were putting him on medications for that. And long story short, because he's had hypertension his whole life, which if you know anything about hypertension long term, it leads to strokes. And so he ended up having some pretty mild strokes in the beginning, and then he ended up having a really massive stroke. This massive stroke was basically he couldn't speak, he couldn't walk, he wasn't there. And they were having me sign the DNR in the hospital and saying that really he'd been in the hospital for 8 weeks and it's time to discharge him because he needs to go somewhere and he can't stay here. And so they put him in a long-term care facility to give him some therapy. And what was so strange about this stroke was that for a very mild-mannered, happy man, he had turned very aggressive and combative while he was in the hospital. So anytime someone tried to give him care other than me, he would lash out, which was just disturbing if you've never seen that in your loved one. And so he gets to this facility. He's there for one night, and the very next morning they say, you need to come and stay here. Okay, well, I'm a mom, I have kids, I can't just come live at this long-term care facility. So I went there that next day to try to just see what we could do. And when I walked in, he was in his wheelchair. He had food all over his little white t-shirt. It was a mess. And again, remember, he's not really speaking or communicating. And I looked at him and just said, well, we got to change this shirt, right? And so as I went to change his shirt, I had been diffusing frankincense in his room because it's really good for neurological things as well. And I heard, anoint him with frankincense. I didn't even, in that moment, pause to realize what was happening. I just reached over, grabbed the frankincense, and I shook it on the top of his head. Within seconds, he started to seize. And it was the scariest moment probably of my life, because I thought I had done something wrong. I knew it was a high frequency oil. I knew what it was capable of doing, but I didn't know it was going to have that effect. Fast forward, the ambulance comes, takes him to the hospital, and they get his seizures under control. This is emotional for me because I literally in that moment felt like I had done something detrimental. But y'all, I'm here to tell you today that when they allowed me to go into the room to see him, he was sitting up in bed and he said, "Hi, sweetheart," as I walked through the door. The man that wasn't speaking, that was aggressive and couldn't walk. He walked out of that hospital, walked back into the long-term care facility, did his therapies. They released him with flying colors, and he came back home to live with me, totally just like he was prior to the stroke. And so obviously for me, frankincense will always mean more than what I had used it for prior to. And it is a story that I am currently very proud to share, because I feel like being a good steward and listening to the voice that I heard is legitimately what got us to where we are today. So that is my frankincense and dye story. Allie, is there something else you'd like me to speak about, or switch it over to Cindy?
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, how do you follow that? Amazing. Please, yeah, I think if you want to hand it over, that'd be great. So Cindy, yeah, thanks.
I think Cindy is
that was my exact question. I was like, why did I sign her up to share that story before I get on? And they're all like in the chat, you probably didn't see it, Lisa, but they're like chills. And I'm like, I know, I tell her to share this. And every time that she does, and I've heard it numerous times now, the chills are still the same. And that is why we do these calls, because wow, like total life change. So switching over, mom moment, to our daily stuff like we talked about in the diffuser, huffing from our bottles and things that you may not realize, because we do them on a daily basis now that we have gotten used to this just being a part of our lifestyle and what we do, that our products are so powerful. But my story started several years back with a packet that hopefully when you got your starter kit, it comes in most of our kits as a sample. If you have not tried it, reach out to the person that invited you to this call, and somewhere in your network of support, I'm sure that people would be happy to tell you more about this or get you a sample of it. But our Thieves Household Cleaner packet, that little packet that comes in your starter kits, if you got a Thieves starter kit, then you have, I mean, you guys, Young Living literally developed a whole line off of this product that got us started. It made such an impact, and we literally used that one product for so many years on our family that my husband thought that our company's name was Thieves. He would be like, "Can you call it Thieves Company to reorder?" And so we are chiropractors. That was our original job before we got thrust into this Young Living world. And in saying that, you may be like us where it was our job. And so there was a majority of our lifestyle that really was holistic, low tox. And so coming into this, it wasn't a new world to me in the natural alternative, if you want to put it that way, world of doing things. Yet there was so much of this, all of it, that we hadn't yet tried or used as a solution, because we were just going along our merry way and really happy with what we were using. But when we had kids, things changed, because if you've done things with kids, like she was saying with the whole, you know, I can use my diffuser and manipulate, or stealth diffuse, or whatever you want to call. I love as a mom, because now my kiddos range in age from almost 13 to I've got the baby turning a year old in a matter of days. And so not having to wake them up to do things to help either get them back to the wellness line or keep them there, or negotiate with them on taking stuff or take them to appointments. The fact that I can buy one product for a whole family and use it on everybody and have multiple ways of utilizing it, it's just the easy button. And so I didn't realize that I needed that when we were in practice up until we started a family of our own. We were living and had our products from a patient. And so we got them from her, honestly, because she was an awesome patient and I trusted her. And I was like, okay, you know, give me some of that. I'm sure I can find some way to use these smelly good things in our office. And in that kit came a sample of this Thieves Household Cleaner. And we quickly fell in love with it, because I was like, man, as a practitioner, we were specializing in kids and pregnant moms. I was like, this stuff smells great. it's like the holidays. It works, and I don't have to worry about kids being around it, my patient's face being on it, since we were cleaning our tables with it. And so we didn't do anything with that box other than use that sample of household cleaner, fall in love with it, and then we started grabbing more Thief stuff. But we were living in our rental home, which was a townhouse, and we were fixing it up. And our kiddos were 2 and 4 at the time. And all of a sudden they came down with this respiratory junk. If you live in Texas, you know that we struggle with our air quality. And so that's not abnormal. And so we started doing all of our typical things with it. But because we had just moved and we weren't getting the results with what we normally did on our kiddos, which you can put up with a lot of things on yourself, but when it's your kids, you're like, give me a solution. And so we were like, hey, you know what? In this townhouse, we share, close proximity to other people who are living around, and then having been in and out of that and not knowing, we're like, let's get the air ducts checked. And when we checked them, not only did we find some nasty stuff growing in there, but they just were probably what we felt was contributing to this issue. And so I got a Groupon and called out a cleaning company. And remember, I know ingredients and those are important to me. And so quickly before the guy used his machine to infuse things into our ducts, I was like, can I read the ingredients on that? And when I grabbed it, it was like a thank goodness moment that I looked at that. And that's why we use the word gatekeeper. And I was saying, I love that so many of you parents are advocates, because we have to put a stop to things before we just easily let them into our home. And so as I was reading this, I was like, no way am I going to be letting that, run and pump through my home with these ingredients, and knowing how important in air quality is on a normal basis, especially, when my kids are under the weather with this stuff. And so I asked him, and he looked at me like I had 3 heads, because that's what we do sometimes, right? The uncommon, abnormal to some people, which is totally normal to us thing. I was like, I have this cleaner that I love, and I'm pretty sure that the ingredients that I trust in there, you could throw that into your machine. And so he was like, okay, we'll try it, whatever, crazy lady. And so put it in, went back through, retested everything, and it did the job, and our house smelled awesome. And in a matter of days, I sent my husband back to our office, and I was like, that box that we haven't used, I'm sure there's some respiratory stuff in there that we can further support them with. Why don't we go ahead and get, our diffusers going? And literally in days, what we had worked on for weeks gave a turnaround. And so my team will laugh if they're on here, or if you've heard me speak before, but we literally tell people, because we work with hormones so often, and we're like, if there's one thing that you changed up, not to get overwhelmed, and needed an easy button, but also something that would so drastically change what you're doing on a continual basis, start switching things out and utilizing your Thieves household cleaner. Not only did we use it for air ducts, it literally is the one spray bottle in our home. And now that I have a baby getting into all the cabinets, I love that I can trust that if she gets into it, I don't have to worry about who I'm going to call or what the ingredients were that she ingested. When my boys are helping me clean, I can give it to them, and they can liberally have fun with cleaning. And then guess what? When we're breathing stuff, I don't have to worry about what's going in. When we're walking, when she's learning to crawl on the floor, when we're eating off of our dishes, all of those things that tend to add to that toxic load, where there's a lot in our world that we can't control. So why don't we control what we can? I don't have to worry about that throwing off our hormones, letting all this junk into my body that could contribute to my immune system not doing so great. No, I can trust the ingredients and know that it's boosting my immune system, and it's enjoyable and safe at the same time. And so that's how we got started. It was back in 2007 when we got our products, and then a few years later when we figured that out with kids. And all these years later, he's almost 13 now, my daughter is almost 11, we are still using this as one of our products that literally has replaced so much in our home that I'm constantly gabbing about. And so if you don't know where to start, it is so valuable, and I implore you to get that sample, open it up, and start utilizing it on all the things. Okay, Allie, I think I am turning it over to Stacy now, right? Oh, look, she's already on, ready to go.
Hey. Okay, so I'm super excited because I get to talk to you about Ninja Red, and I absolutely love this. If you've never tried it, you have to try it. Once you get on it, you will never go back, because it gives you everything you basically need. It is a wellness in a packet or in a bottle, gives you energy. For me personally, I take it every day. And I also take it with my Luminize. I don't know if you've heard of that supplement that Young Living has, but I take that every day. And the last time I went to the doctor, my eyesight got better. And Ningxia Red has always been known for that. And then when I coupled it with the Luminize, it really did some great stuff for me. So I absolutely love it. If any of my kids ever go into the weather or me, I just don't take a packet. I take a coffee cup full, probably a couple of times a day, and I kick everything to the curb because this packet is full of antioxidants with the Ningxia wolfberry. And if you don't know about that, Google that Ningxia wolfberry from China and you will go, wow, I've got to have that in my house. It is wonderful. It helps maintain cholesterol levels at the normal range. So you know what that means? If they're not normal, guess what you need more of? More Ningxia Red. This is just a super food that you need in your home. I absolutely love it. Tastes great. And you can also drop your oils in it if you want. If there's certain oils you like to take, you can drop your oils in those too. So anyway, I'm going to throw it back, I think, to Allie now and let her continue on.
Thank you so much. Yes, we need our Ningxia Red. I actually went to the eye doctor today, and my birthday's on Monday. I'm turning 45 and I still have 20/20 vision and I do not need cheaters. Yay. And she said my macular was so thick for my age. She couldn't believe how thick it was. So that is a great thing. So anyway, okay, so I want to talk about support. We threw a lot of things at you and I don't want anyone to ever feel overwhelmed. So I want everyone to know this is just a taste of the education you're going to have access to. So please reach back to the person who helped you and invited you or sent you this video, because they will make sure that your hand is held and you have resources galore that you will never have an unanswered question. So just know that. So there are really 3 ways to save money with Young Living. The first way to save money is to grab one of the put together bundles because they are highly discounted. When you grab a bundle, you automatically become a member. What that means is that you are eligible or you get 24% off of everything you buy with no obligation other than enjoy what you want at 24% off. The second way to save money is to join our subscription program, our loyalty program, which is optional, but highly desired, because when you purchase through our subscription program, you earn a percentage back of everything you spend money on. And it acts as just a little bucket of Young Living cash that you can spend to your heart's delight on all the things that maybe you're like, I kind of want a new lipstick, or I want that expensive oil that like is really just because it smells great, right? So Essential Rewards is amazing. The requirement is that you spend 50 product value a month. You buy whatever you want, whatever time of month you want it. You can change that every single month. So tons and tons of flexibility. The third way to save money, or really to make money, is by doing what we do naturally anyway. When you fall in love with these products, you will share them with everyone because you will become obsessed like the rest of us. And when you share them, Young Living will send you a thank you check for being the one to share it. So that's really what we're going to talk about next, is why people share Young Living and the advantages of doing so. So I am super honored to hand this over to Kayla Venner, who I have known for many years. Our husbands did business together for many, many years. And I'm not going to tell too much about her story because I have a feeling that she'll tell a little bit about it, but she's just the most loving, caring, most just deep-hearted, down-to-earth, precious, beautiful woman. And I'm so lucky to have her in my life. I can't explain to you how much I adore this woman. So you are so, so lucky to hear from her. So I'm going to hand it over to Kayla.
Wow, Allie, thank you. That was awesome. Okay, like Allie said, Gary and I have known Allie and Grady for many, many years. And one thing I've known about Allie is that she is very health aware. She's been known to say that her job is to keep her family above the wellness line. And I like that about her. So when she invited us to dinner about 6 years ago, and during the middle of the dinner, she pulls out these oils and was just using them. I was intrigued and asked her, what are you doing? What is this about? And she shared a little bit about what they do for your body and how they support you. And I want to keep my family above the wellness line. So I jumped in and got a premium starter kit, brought the oils home, started using them, and immediately saw the benefits. I was exchanging medicines that we had for oils, and we were seeing the benefits. It was just a wonderful thing. And because of that, it sent me on a journey about other things. What else can I do? If the things that we're putting on and in our body are hurting our health and not supporting it, what else can be out there? So I took a deep dive in the internet and podcasts, and I learned so much about diet and nutrition and purified water and things that we could use instead of toxic chemicals. And while I was doing that, some of my friends noticed and family members, and they jumped on board with the oily journey and started using oils as well. And I looked up one day and I had this little accidental income, and it was enough to cover my monthly purchases of my oils, which was awesome, which made it feel like I was kind of getting oils for free. So I guess I was. Now I say I shared with my friends because although Gary participated casually, he would use an oil that was in front of him, but he might walk past the water filter and drink out of the faucet. Or he didn't really care about what I washed the clothes in or what toothpaste was in front of him. It wasn't anything that was on his radar or this toxic living. But then one day, about 2.5 years ago, we were hit with a Mack truck when he got a very serious diagnosis. And all of the options that the doctors offered us were very scary with horrible side effects. And so we did what we do as a family. We gathered and prayed and talked it out. And I just said to him, for some crazy reason, I was led on this path of health awareness several years ago, and maybe it was for such a time as this. And so we talked it out, and he said, okay, I'll do whatever it takes. We're going to fight this, because they were not offering us a lot of hope. And he came to me a few days later and he said, when you said that to me, I got a lot of comfort and I feel very confident now, because now we have tools in our toolbox besides this scorched earth attack that the doctors were only offering. So what we did was, for the next few months, we just infused his body with health. We diet, and he was putting on oils on the regular. He had him by his bed. He used them for sleep. We used him feeds daily. Frankincense, like Lisa said, was a go-to. But we wanted to equip his body with everything it needed, so when the attack started, his body could do what I believe our body was created to do, and that is to heal itself. And so I can say today, 2.5 years later, I would not wish this on anyone, but it has been such a blessing to our family. And the doctors will never use remission. They will never say cured. They will just say no sign of disease. So today, and I want to say also, while he was going through this medical part, he never missed a day of work. He never lost his hair. He never got sick. We just marched right through it. And we are thankful to be where we are today. But he is all in now. You can imagine that our friends who were watching us in our circle kind of took notice, and they were asking, what are y'all doing? How are you managing all of this? And we readily shared. We just couldn't help but share. And so now we have a few more members on our team, and lots of friends who are using the oils, and family members who are using the oils. And yes, I do earn a little bit of an income from Young Living because of it. And I'm thankful for that. But I'm complete honesty with you. If Young Living never sent me another penny, I would still use the oils daily in my house, and I would share with anybody that I could nail down and tell them about what we've got going on in our life. And God has brought some, over the past year, which is when I kind of got really focused on this, he has brought some people into my life that needed to hear this, because they were going through cancer for the second time, or they had some issues. They only thing they knew about was pharmaceuticals. And don't get me wrong, there is a time and a place for pharmaceuticals, and it sometimes walks hand in hand with what we're doing. But I love sitting down with, specifically ladies, but I have spoke with some husbands and boyfriends too, about what they can do to take control. And it is not just at the feet of the doctor. We can do things on a daily basis to help us fight what comes in our path, and also even to actually heal. So look me up 10 years from now, I'll be sitting right here doing exactly what I'm doing, because I truly believe that this was not on our plate for just us, but it was on our plate for other people to be used and to help people. And that's my mission, and that's my passion. That's his journey is another story for another day, but it's really exciting and full of miracles. So thank you for letting me share. And I think I'm going to toss it to maybe Stacy, who's going to introduce Andrea. Okay. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, love your story and your mission too. I'm on board with everything you just said. Well, I have the honor to be able to introduce Andrea Ziegler. She is passionate about the oils that we all love. And I love her last name because I love a quote by Zig Ziglar, and it says, you don't have to get started, but you have to start. Wait, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. And she has started and she has not stopped. I'm super excited for her. She's a silver, and I'm going to let her take it away and talk with y'all today.
Well, thank you for that, Miss Stacy. I appreciate that. And I wish I was related to Zig Ziglar. That would be amazing in my life, but I soak up all of his knowledge as well. So it is oh so helpful to be able to have that for sure. So thank you for that. Yes, I love being able to share. So my story is probably the exact opposite of Kayla's. So I didn't have a whole lot of friends and family who jumped on the bandwagon with me. I was the crunchy person in my family. I was the one, the kale eating, the like all that kind of stuff. And they were like, yeah, that's great for you, but I don't know about me, right? So I'm here to tell you that you don't have to have friends and family to be able to do the business, to be able to get your oils paid for, to make an impact in other people's lives, because social media. If you're not on social media, you may be living under a rock, but seriously, it is such the easiest way to be able to not only help other people in their wellness journey, but to be able to just make a big impact for sure. So let me start with my story. When I first got started, my wonderful sister actually shared with me, and I was like, I don't know about this. We'll see. So I dove in and I fell in love immediately because it aligned so well with everything else I was doing in my lifestyle. And as a mom, I had that mama intuition very quickly. I knew that I knew better and I knew the best for my kiddo and that I can make the best decisions for him. So being able to have these tools in our home was just another one of those things that I knew it would build my confidence when it came to that. So we dove in and I quickly realized that I needed all of the tools in my household, not just one, but all of the tools in the wellness cabinet. So I quickly learned that I could just empower other people to be able to take care of their wellness, and I could get my oils paid for and my tools paid for too. And I was like, I'm in. That sounds fantastic, right? So I started sharing with the people that were around me, and they kept saying, yeah, no, I'm good. No, I'm fine. And I was like, okay. So then I was like, guess what? I'm gonna have to grow. And that was my key to what I've been doing is growth. This is cleverly disguised as a growth curriculum. You grow all the time. So stepping out of your comfort zone is exactly what I did. Social media was not my thing, but I stepped out and did it anyways. And I made tons of friends from around the world that I now impact on every single daily basis, and not only inform them about oils, but really empower them as moms to take care of their families as well. We've also gotten extra wiggle room in our budget and taken some extra stress off of my husband, which is such a win. As a homeschool mom, you tend to think that that's your only cap you wear, but it's not true. You have so many other amazing things that you can be able to do. So if you had big dreams, big visions of doing amazing things with your life, being able to share these wonderful tools with people is a fantastic way to be able to get started. So it's been such a fantastic journey so far, and I am so excited to continue to impact and share with other people as well. And side note, community is the best thing about this whole thing, like the best. Like if you get those text messages in the middle of the night, hey, my baby finally slept, right? Hey, guess what? It worked. Hey, guess what? Like all those things are amazing, and you have that reach out as well. So that's just a little bit about me. Let me pass it over to Lisa so that she can share as well.
Sorry, I thought Cindy was going to introduce me, so I wasn't ready. Okay.
You want me to intro? I was going to interrupt and my microphone was being weird.
It's up to you.
Okay. Well, you guys heard a little bit of Lisa's story. So I'm like, how can I top that? Because I know you guys were on when she shared about her father. But what she won't brag on herself about, that I will get to brag on her. And the reason why she needs to be on for this opportunity part of the call, she's one of our team's highest enrollers. And in some seasons, not as big a deal as it is right now. It's always a big deal, but especially in this season when summer can tend to be a slower month for a lot of businesses, because it's not like the holiday months when people are focused on health and shopping and all the things. And so the fact that she is my consistent one that is sharing in our team, and just how she does it across the board of like both in her one-on-one relationships, online, she has enrollers. She was talking about her daughter's diagnosis and just what they live with that, and how she steps in and encourages other moms who have experienced the same. And I've watched her do that. And so she is such a good person to share about this bit, because if you feel like, hey, my strong suit is social media, or that really scares me, and I like the one-on-one personal relationship, Lisa can really share how those different facets look, because she's not only one to present it well and teach you guys on that, but she really walks it out. So I will let you now talk about yourself.
Well, that was so very, very sweet. Thank you so much. So it's funny because, what is this giving me a little, okay. I'm a 2, so hearing that gives me like heart palpitations or something. I don't even know. It's very sweet. Thank you, Cindy. That was super kind of you. So I really kind of thought long and hard about what I wanted to focus on in speaking to you guys in this regard about catching the vision. And I thought I would start with just what was one of my very own personal stumbling blocks when I started this. I had been like a straight up essential oil user for a good 4 years before I ever started being intentional about a business. And I say those words because I shared all the time based on impact, right? Like, oh my gosh, this happened to me. Oh my gosh, wait, you have what? Oh, you got to try this, right? Just the normal like excitement about having something that had changed my family's health and our lives, that I was just doing that kind of organically. And it wasn't until I decided to like actually do this as a business that I realized one of my biggest fears reared its ugly head. And I hear people talk about this all the time, which is why I decided to focus on it, because I think it is something that is very prevalent that needs to be spoken about more. And that is the fear of being salesy. Can anybody relate to that? Give me a little hands up, because I hear that all the time, right? And little can be done under the spirit of fear, let's be real. So what I want you guys to know is that, guess what? Young Living is a direct sales company. Holy cow, right? I'm talking sales. Yes, I am. Here's why. Because if you have chosen to help others and Young Living is your vehicle in order to do so, you, my friend, are interested in direct sales. Let's just get comfortable with it, because I had to. And once I did, my business actually changed. It changed a lot. And so if people don't know that you're selling something, guess what? They're not going to come to you to buy what they need. They're going to go to that other person that has made it very clear that this is their business. And so I say that because it's happened to me. I've had people go, oh, well, I didn't know that you did it as a business. I thought you just like used oils. I was like, well, yeah, that is true, but that is a direct reflection of what I need to change, apparently. So after that happened, I definitely changed my viewpoint on it. I accepted the fact that in order to make a big impact and to help people, I needed to be okay with the fact that I am selling them products, but I'm selling them amazing products that are life-changing, right? So there's no guilt in that for me. Your enrollments are contingent upon your attitude, not your prospective members' attitude, right? So we are relationship builders who provide value and help people. If you are passionate and unapologetic about that, I promise you others will want what you have. I've seen it time and time again. I can't even tell you how freaking proud I am of our company. And that pride comes through when I talk to others about it. It is something my new members actually tell me regularly. They say things like, oh, you're so passionate about wanting to help others, or I can tell how much you believe in the products. So I want to just impart that upon y'all too, that when we have these interactions with others, our excitement is important. I'm not going to go, oh, what? Oh, you should try peppermint. I've heard that's really good. Right? I'm like, oh my gosh, what? You need to try this because let me tell you why. And that is how you get to people. There is a quote from Mary Kay, and in case y'all wonder, I make notes because I'm very squirrely. So I keep reflecting to my notes. Mary Kay had this quote, and she said this: pretend every single person that you meet has a sign around his or her neck that says, make me feel important. Not only will you succeed in sales, but you will succeed in life. Genuinely listening and loving on others is where it's at. I don't think there's one person in here that can say they don't like to feel special. And that is the key, right, to getting people and building relationships. So I want to talk to you a little bit about why I do, or what I feel is the key to success for my business. And that is that I want you to think about focusing on your vision, what your why, or sometimes people say your what for, right? They can be whatever you want them to be. But that needs to be greater than your focus on your insecurities and excuses. Because those are kind of one and the same, right? It's our insecurities that make us come up with a million excuses for why we can or can't do something. And so that really takes some reflection, right? Some personal growth, as she mentioned earlier, because that is what this business is about. It is about being the best version of yourself. What can you do to help yourself grow in these insecurities or in these areas where you're not feeling comfortable? Because it's not just about business. It's about your life. It's about your family. It's about your friends and those that you actually get the honor to bless by sharing what you have that others need. And we all can kind of relate that everybody needs what we have. Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, I just want to scream up to the mountaintops because I think these products need to be in every single home, period, end of story. So if you don't have the tools, I want to encourage you to go out and find the tools. You have leaders in here that are more than excited to take you by the hand, to walk this walk with you, to help you get the tools that you need to be successful. You just need to be ready to be coached. So what I'm most excited about in the future, because that's one of the things that Ali said I should talk about, is that I am most excited about continuing to help others find health freedom. That's first and foremost, because that is truly what fuels my soul. I'm excited about the financial freedom that comes along with doing that, right? Because you can't have one without the other. And I'm excited to do good things with the fruitfulness my business creates. So I mentioned I have a child with special needs. I have a dream of having a nonprofit organization for helping families transition from diagnosis to daily life with a child with special needs. The financial opportunity this business offers is how I see that coming to fruition. So I would encourage each person that's listening to really allow yourself to dream, to think about what you would do if the sky was the limit as far as money is concerned. What would you do? Good people do good things with money. We hear it all the time, and it's absolutely true. But if we don't ask ourselves that question, if we don't look inside really deep to figure it out, because I think that dreaming is not something that comes easy to most of us on the regular, right? You have to be intentional about it. So what is your why? What is your what for? What will you do with a life-changing income? That's how I dream. So thank you guys for listening. And I hope that I've encouraged somebody or at least planted a seed. And I'll hand it over to Cindy, my amazing leader.
You're too sweet. Okay, again, I'm like, why am I following her? So I know in these next calls, I'm going to switch the lineup a little bit so that I can share and not have to be like, okay, how do you follow that? But I love that she mentioned the whole part about being salesy, because I can tell you, once you start working this as a business, that is a question that as others come to you to do the same, that always pops up. I just had it today. I've had it from several other people this week. And so I love that she addressed that right out of the gate. And maybe the reason why that resonates with me so much much is we had this joke between my husband and I when we were both in our chiropractic office that he was like, Cindy, we cannot pay the rent on this building to keep adjusting patients through milk that your patients are trading you for adjustments. But I would literally let them come in and trade whatever it was to not have to charge them because I had such a mindset issue around finances. And so when they were mentioning early that this network marketing business is really personal development in disguise, I can tell you that the other thing that I get from fellow moms is like, how do you do this with your kids? And do your kids ever feel like you're not, you know, balanced in your lifestyle? And that's a whole, you know, misnomer too. Like, how do we keep things in balance? We don't, we just work them in harmony is what I like to do. But I can tell you that my husband and my kids and those in my close circles who what they say matters will tell you that Young Living is such a blessing to our family. And part of that is that it has developed me into such a better mom and a wife and a business owner because of all of the things that I have had to overcome in order to do this business. And so if you stay around here any bit of time, you will hear about our company being about wellness, purpose, and abundance. We started this call with wellness. That's how a lot of us are introduced. There's typically a health need that we either want to prevent or want to address. And so that opens the door into all these other facets of this. And it really is like a three-pronged stool. And so I can tell you in the beginning, I was listening for and passionate about the wellness because that's what we did in our office and that made sense to me. But my life looks so different all these years later down the line that I am as much now passionate about the abundance side and the purpose because I have seen where this vehicle of Young Living can take us. And we are living such a different life. I will joke with people because we have a huge marriage testimony. We have a huge testimony in our business than the life that I thought I was saying yes to when I was at the altar committing to my husband, when I was, you know, going through and paying all the bills to get this degree to do this chiropractic thing. Looking then on today, back then with what I was planning on doing, I would have never said, hey, you're going to be here working this network marketing business. Remember the whole like salesy thing. This was my husband's 14th network marketing company because he loved it so much and he was so passionate about residual income and using this model for business. But guess what? I was the negative Nancy over there being like, no, we are not going to do this. And so because he didn't have any sales issues and he loved the community, he loved the competition where he could, you know, go and win things and achieve these goals. He was always bringing home some new opportunity. But the problem was there was nothing substantial there for us to really buy into and believe and make a difference in us as a family. And so there are a lot of ways that you could accomplish community, that you could accomplish abundance. There's some in which you could do the wellness with that too. But I have never found what Young Living has to offer us where I can really get behind that, so much so that it has changed me. And so the reason why we find ourselves doing this nowadays, and the part that if I ever have a struggle, which I don't now because I've had so many people where this has made such a difference in them and I can see it in my own life, with that whole salesy bit, I put myself in the shoes of what if that other person, when Lisa was talking about the sign around their neck, what if they have something coming tomorrow like we did, and we had several of them that we had no idea about, that my person, my enroller, patient friend at the time who introduced us to Young Living, when she was walking into our waiting room, she could have seen all of the people in there and added up in her head how much I was going to make in that day and be like, no, she doesn't need the opportunity of Young Living. She knew because we had talked through supplements, adjusting, laser, all of the different facets and tools that we had for wellness, that I didn't need another wellness tool necessarily in my belt. But she put aside all of those things like we so often have for other people, all of the no's that she could have made up stories in her head before humbling herself, doing the hard thing and opening her mouth, and told me about these products. And then guess what? I was like, yeah, you're a good friend. You're a good patient. And so I had that value of relationship of like trusting what she said. And I wanted to kind of scratch her back where she had scratched mine in business of like throwing her a bone and going, okay, you know, I'll buy this box from you because I like you, not because I yet saw the need of what these products could do to us. And so we grabbed those products. And like I told y'all, we used the Thieves Household Cleaner, but we literally didn't open the oils for years. And when we did, we weren't consistent with them. And so if that's you coming in here and you're like, I've been on these calls for a while and I've done nothing with it, it's never too late. You may have people in your circle who you're like, okay, I've, you know, told it to them for the umpteenth time. I'm so thankful that she stuck with us all those years until I finally had that aha moment of a need. And that relationship with her was still there. It wasn't contingent on me using oils for her to talk to me because we had a friendship. And so the other thing that we get asked about too is like, what does our daily life look like? most leaders might have, you know, a typical day in the life of, but I can tell you that that has changed over the years. And so if you come into this business and decide to do this, and you have a vast, big circle of relationships who really value what you said, because you have built yourself up as a trustworthy person who not only shows up for them, who also, you know, recommends movies that they like, restaurants, who, you know, is not just, hey, today I'm going to post about this business and then tomorrow I'm doing another. Because if you come into that as that person, it may take you a few years, and you're working on establishing relationships and making yourself a trustworthy person that they can look to in this business. And so sometimes it looks like that. Sometimes we come in with a network and we know that we're trustworthy. And so I post on social media, not because social media on a day-to-day basis is what necessarily builds my business, but it's because, like Tina was saying earlier in the chat, when people have a need, I don't want them to go purchasing these products from another person. I want them to know that I'm their only person. And sometimes that's because they saw something that I posted on Facebook or on my Instagram, and then they were like, hey, I can ask her about that next time that we're in person. And so they know this isn't the only thing that defines me, is what I does. It's not all I ever talk about or relate to them over. But when there is a need that I can fulfill, there is no doubt in their mind as to what it is that I do. And so a lot of my day-to-day looks like that, and just being that person to listen for needs and where can I show up and provide those. And so as we started using these products consistently and we were building a family, I had a big identity crisis. Maybe some of you identify with this, where I went from this professional with a super successful office to home, living my dream with my kids. But that was a big adjustment of like, who am I? I'm this professional with this degree, and now I'm changing diapers and talking to kids that I hope, you know, understand me. And I don't know why initially that was so much easier to do with other people's children when they were in office. But when I came home, I was like, what is my purpose? And so Young Living was so awesome to have this outlet where I couldn't only, you know, get a little bit of work in with sharing products like I had done in office, but I could have some adult conversations. And a few years into those kiddos and building this business, and when we finally decided to do it after all those years, things were, you know, kind of sped up, but not because they were really moving fast. It's just that we had had all this years of back work up to that. We got pregnant with our third child. What we didn't know until he was born at almost 34 weeks was that he had a genetic condition that was non-compatible with life. And so at that point, I had gone back to dabbling in work a little bit as I was at home with my kids and had some help. But guess what? When you have your sole income off of working in an office outside of your home, and a tragedy like losing a child hits you, you need time to grieve. And the world doesn't stop and allow you to take off for that. And so Young Living was the income, the well that was dug for us. Like I like to use a quote from another leader, before we knew we were going to have thirst. And Young Living was that income that allowed us both, my husband and I, to kind of take a break from our office. A few years after losing that child, again, life that I never thought I would be leading, he was speaking for another Young Living team. Some of you guys may have been at that event, or if you've been around our story before, you know. And he had a benign tumor that was eating away his leg that we didn't know about. It knocked him on his feet and off his feet. And he was in a wheelchair for 2 years, having that leg reconstructed and recovering from that, which required us to sell our office. And this whole life that we had built of, hey, we're going to do this forever in this chiropractic office, all of a sudden in an instant, drastically changed. And so that's where I can tell you today, the product showed up for us, community, our team that we had built in Young Living, team outside of that. We're on our doorstep with the things that made us know they were thinking about us, like flowers, but the more important things like meals and who's going to pick up my kids while he was going through surgery after surgery after surgery. And so that community came through with us. The products helped us with a pain med addiction that he had as he was going through all those surgeries, where the doctors were like, we don't have any other options for you. And so what would we have done without these products? And we needed so many. Our schedule changed to therapy after therapy after therapy. What was I going to do? Book a nanny for my kids and then somebody to take care of my husband and then, you know, go off and work? No, like we needed this income so that we could give full-time care to what our family was needing at the time. And so as you think through and opening up and sharing about where you see a need with people, whether it's that purpose, whether it's the products for their wellness, or whether it's community because they don't have it, know that you may be seeing them as they are today. Your story may be as it is today, but we don't know what tomorrow is going to hold. And I'm so thankful that my enroller introduced me to this, just like I'm sure that the people that you share with in your circles are, so that I would have an answer for the things that I didn't know that we would need, that were quickly sitting in our lap that we had never planned. And so that's why there is so much purpose to this. It has taken us further. It afforded us our adoption on our fourth son. And daily, there's not a day that my husband and I don't look at each other and go, we are so thankful for this. And we're on mission to bring others for it, not only for what it's done in our family, but I could tell you countless story after story of people in our circle who this has affected. And it just allows you to open your eyes and dream bigger. Again, I could have never seen the places that it has done things for us, but I wouldn't have been thinking with such big vision to the things that we're doing even outside of our family now, were it not for this vehicle. And so I just implore you guys, if there's any little, inkling in you that's interested in doing this, whether it's getting your products paid for all the way, to bigger dreams that you could never imagine are on the horizon for you, there's such opportunity. And that's why we're so passionate about sharing about this. So Allie, I will let you close it out. Thank you guys for your time.
I think you did an amazing job. We're very grateful that you have spent the time to be here live with us or watch this recording, and just know that we are a community full of love and caring, and we want you to be a part of it.